I'm very, very excited to talk about this. The World Baseball Classic just concluded last night, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago. I don't know, whatever it was, a couple of days ago, very recently at the time of recording. And wow, I mean, how can you just not love baseball after watching the World Baseball Classic? It was such a great event and such a good time, and just the fans are amazing. The players, just you could just see their energy and feel their energy. You could just see that they're rejuvenated, like they're falling, almost like they're falling back in love with the game again. Not that they don't love the game of baseball. Obviously, just about every Major League Baseball player loves the game, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. But it's a different level. And if you haven't watched the World Baseball Classic before or didn't watch this one, you might not really fully understand what I'm talking about. But it's amazing. At the very least, watch highlights on ESPN or MLB.com, or just go on YouTube and watch some highlights. I'm sure there's plenty of videos that show you, all the really cool plays, and just feel the energy of the crowd, feel the energy of the players. It's really, really a sight to see. It's truly amazing. I know some people that I know actually got a chance to go to some World Baseball Classic games this year, and I just can't imagine being in that atmosphere. It must be really, truly amazing. But nonetheless, World Baseball Classic just wrapped up, and I want to go through the top 5 stories that I feel are relevant coming out of the World Baseball Classic. Now, there might be some general consensus on these, and there might be some disagreements, but these, for me, are the 5 things that stood out over the World Baseball Classic, and don't worry, we'll get to Shohei Ohtani at some point. Number 5, by the way, these are going to be in order of, like, least important stories to most important stories. Maybe not important, but, like, least, like, talked about story and most talked about story, I would say. All right. Number 5, I'm going to give it to Team Mexico. Now, this might just be me. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I didn't look at the rosters close enough or anything like that, but I didn't really give Mexico much of a shot in this tournament. I didn't really think that they would be as good as they were. I thought that, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, all those teams would be better than they were, and they weren't. So, I mean, maybe Venezuela. But either way, Mexico, quite frankly, to me, not overperformed, but surprised me. I didn't think that they would get as far as they did, and they darn near beat Japan. It took a walk-off for Mexico to lose to Japan. So, yeah, I mean, really, really fun. Awesome to see for Mexico. And it gives that team, stuff to build off of in the future. But, again, it did kind of surprise me. There were certainly some other surprises in this that go along with that, which we'll get to in a moment. But I think that Mexico getting as far as they did, again, maybe I missed it. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but it surprised me. So that's my number 5 story. Number 4 is Trey Turner. I very easily could make this number 3, maybe even number 2, but I'm going to put it at number 4. Trey Turner was absolutely on fire during the World Baseball Classic. I think he hit 5 home runs, something like that. Just absolutely carried that United States offense, which is pretty amazing considering the talent that the United States had on offense, including, but not limited to, Michael Trout. So, you got the best player in the world, arguably, on your team, and you, as Trey Turner, are carrying that offense that other guy's on. It's pretty amazing. So, yeah, Trey Turner absolutely dominated. It was really, really fun to watch. At one point, it felt like every single time he stepped up to the plate, he was going to go yard. So, yeah, a lot of fun. Congrats to Trey Turner. I wish, obviously, that the United States would have brought it home again, but obviously they fell 1 run short. But nothing to be ashamed of, especially for Trey Turner. Trey Turner did literally everything he possibly could to get the United States over the hump. It just didn't work out. So congrats, Trey Turner, and I'm hoping he carries that into the season, because if he does, the Phillies are going to be real, real dangerous. Number 3 story that I want to talk about is the Dominican Republic disappointment. Yeah, what happened? I mean, I feel like the Dominican Republic team was stacked with talent on all sides, and they just underperformed. It just did not work out for the Dominican Republic, and they have to be, and I'm sure they are, wildly disappointed that they didn't really represent their country, and I'm sure the way that they wanted to. Now, I'm obviously not going to sit here and try and pretend like I know what it's like to defend my country like that. I certainly do not. But I'm sure that if you had asked anybody on the Dominican Republic before it started, yeah, if you don't make the quarterfinals, are you going to feel proud of how you performed in this tournament? I feel like they would all say no. And they'd probably all laugh thinking, yeah, we're not going to make the quarterfinals. That's funny. Well, they didn't. So, I mean, it's kind of tough to say that they didn't really let people down. Again, I kind of hesitate saying that because, like, who am I to say that, right? But, I mean, I feel like, at the very least, they probably feel like they did, or at least they let themselves down, let their teammates down. But either way, yeah, they have to be one of the most disappointing teams in the history of the World Baseball Classic. I mean, you talk about a team that was stacked at every position, just about, and didn't even make the quarterfinals. I mean, that to me, that is not a shame. I would have liked to see them get farther just because they would have had fun games as well, but it's just, it's kind of disappointing. It's kind of disappointing that they didn't really get there and get as far as what all of us probably thought that they would. So that's my number 3 story. Number 2, a story that very easily could be number 1, and maybe even in hindsight, the most people are talking about it, so maybe it is even number 1, but I'm going to put it at number 2, and that's the Edwin Diaz injury. Obviously, Edwin Diaz celebrating with his teammates. All of a sudden, his knee his patellar tendon just rips right off in the middle of a celebration after he closed. I forget who they played in that game. It might have even been the Dominican Republic. I don't remember. I think it actually was the Dominican Republic. But yeah, either way, just a shame. I mean, obviously he just got a huge contract extension. I think he's the highest paid closer in baseball, other than maybe Liam Hendricks, who also is off doing cancer treatments now. He's not even going to play this year. So 2 highest paid closers in the game, I think, are not going to play this year. So really, really sad stuff, and then obviously the backlash, right? There's a lot of people who say, oh, see, this is why you can't have nice things. The World Baseball Classic should be canceled. It's the World Baseball Classic's fault. And now the MLB teams aren't going to have their best players go there and blah, blah, blah. And just, blaming the World Baseball Classic for this injury would be like blaming spring training for Gavin Lux tearing his ACL sliding into second base. It's just, no, like, that's not how it works. Or blaming, I just saw, it looks like Rhys Hoskins might have just blew out his knee during spring training today. Are you going to blame spring training for blowing out Rhys Hoskins' knee? Or are you just going to accept the fact that baseball has injuries? And these, excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with my throat today. But these, these things happen in spring training. These things happen in the World Baseball Classic. These things happen in baseball. It's just the way it goes. I played baseball up until 2 years ago, since I was 4 years old. I played for almost 20 years. I have had injuries. I've been lucky enough to not have very many injuries on the baseball field. I've had injuries playing other sports, but I've only really had one major injury, and unfortunately, it's the one that ended up kind of costing me my arm and kind of costing me my senior year of college and just a whole mess. But that's the one injury I had, but it still proves the fact. Sometimes you just get hurt. Sometimes you just get injured. And I've had some minor injuries. I've had strained my flexor tendon. I've had to get my arm checked all throughout high school because I've had strains and, pulled muscles and just general pain. And obviously there's just a whole lot that goes into that. I had some ankle issues early on in high school. So injuries are just a part of it. You never want to see it. You never root for it, and of course you never hope that it happens to prove a point, but blaming the World Baseball Classic is not going to solve anything, and I'm very happy that Rob Manfred has already announced the World Baseball Classic is coming back in 2026 because, look, again, condolences and apologies to Edwin Diaz for the injury. It certainly sucks, especially, not in game action. It's just a complete freak accident, and that's another thing, right? Like, it wasn't even in the game. It was just a celebration. And, people were saying, oh, see, he got hurt celebrating, and you don't celebrate like that in spring training, so he should have just stayed at spring training. Well, didn't the Mets, celebrate a walk-off and dog pile or something? Whatever it was, the Mets also celebrated, and you know what? He plays for the Mets, so maybe he'd gotten hurt that way too. Like, you can't make that argument. You can't say that it was the World Baseball Classic's fault. It's just ridiculous. And I'm very happy the World Baseball Classic's coming back. But again, condolences to Edwin Diaz for just blowing out his knee and his patella tendon, and that's a gnarly injury too. Like, it's tearing your ACL is one thing, but tearing your patella tendon is like tearing your kneecap in half. Patella tendon is that giant kind of cushion in the front of your knee, and if you tear that, I mean, your leg is useless. Obviously, with your ACL, your leg is useless too, and it hurts and everything. But patella tendon is gnarly, man. Like, that's a brutal injury. So, again, I hope Edwin Diaz makes a full recovery. Again, he got a huge contract extension this year, so I'm hoping that he's the same exact dominant pitcher as when he left, and I'm hoping that next year we'll be hearing those trumpets as he trots onto the field and he shuts somebody down very, very soon. And the number one story coming out of the World Baseball Classic, I think this is a pretty obvious one, and that is Japan and their dominance. Now, the last couple of games in the semifinals and finals, respectively, they weren't necessarily dominant. It took them a walk-off against Mexico to advance to the finals, and then obviously only beating the United States by 1 run in the finals, so it's not like those were completely dominant wins. However, Japan, they were a lot of fun to watch, and you can tell that they loved playing the game with each other. It was just such a good time to watch Japan, and obviously it was a good time to watch every team. It's just, I can't even describe the feeling to all of you that haven't watched it necessarily. It's just a different feeling than what you get watching regular baseball. So, unfortunately now we're gonna have to watch regular baseball, like, the Orioles and Royals play each other in Baltimore, and there's gonna be 3,000 people in the stadium, if that, and it's just gonna be silence. It's not gonna be very fun. So either way, it's just one of those things where, if you don't watch the World Baseball Classic, if you haven't watched the World Baseball Classic, it's wonderful, it's lovely, and it's darn near perfect, quite frankly. So, yeah, Japan dominating for the most part in the World Baseball Classic doesn't come as a surprise to me. There's a lot more Japanese talent that it's going to be coming over to the major leagues. Japan has always had a mighty presence in the World Baseball Classic and in just the game of baseball in general. And now more and more Japanese athletes are getting the opportunity to showcase that. Masataka Yoshida for the Red Sox had a fantastic World Baseball Classic, had a few really key hits and home runs for them. Munetaka Murakami had a fantastic World Baseball Classic as well, had a bunch of key hits for them. Roki Sasaki, a 21-year-old pitching phenom, was unbelievable, lights out for them. And so, yeah, I mean, Team Japan, absolutely incredible. And yet, even more incredible, well, maybe not even more incredible, but just as incredible, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, I said it before the World Baseball Classic even started. Shohei Ohtani was winning World Baseball Classic MVP, and lo and behold, Shohei Ohtani wins the World Baseball Classic MVP. Now, I'm not going to say, that I 100% knew it was going to happen, but it just made the most sense, and Japan being as flawless and dominant as they were, it just made too much sense. He hit lights out. He pitched lights out. It, quite frankly, was a bit of an unfair advantage, again, as I said in that video. But either way, Team Japan, definitely the number one story for me coming out of the World Baseball Classic.
Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them, and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby. So I really want this thing to grow, and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.